A lot of women are hitting a plateau in their entrepreneurial career or their corporate career because they are not personally branded. They have had 70% increases year over year because their business is doing so great. Yet they don't know how to take it to the next level because they're nervous of how they're going to be portrayed on social media. You can hire us and you can collab with us. I can mentor you, but it equally takes a lot of work for you to figure out who you truly want to be and how you want to show up to the world.
Today, we get to talk to ex-exec Joyce Toti from Tiffany Co, Tory Burch, LVMH, and many more. And thank you, Joyce, for being on the show today. I cannot wait to talk to you about luxury market and personal branding.
So happy to be here. Thank you for having me.
Yes. You came across through local friend, Timothy, and he is just absolutely loves what you've done. And after really looking over and speaking to you just for a few minutes about all the things you've accomplished, just not even a year in, you're already making huge waves. And I can't wait to get into that and talk about what you've developed. The name of her company is Collective Women's Leadership. Mm-hmm. And I'm going to let everybody hear a little bit more about that. And,
Sure.
Your new thing that I'm not going to say.
Yes.
I'm going to let you discuss that, go into that a little bit.
Great. I just thank you so much for that introduction. I'm really happy to be here. Community is everything, and I feel as though that Las Vegas specifically has such a great group of people that we both know, and so them speaking, my name in rooms I'm not in is kind of the core of Collective Women's Leadership and what mentorship is all about. I spent 25 years really representing world-renowned luxury brands, as you said, Tiffany Co, LVMH, Tag Heuer, and Tory Burch, and years ago, BCBG Max Azria, when that was the end-all, be-all of fashion for us. But I was really lucky to travel around the world and really travel and open up markets in different states of the United States, like different states, and really understand years ago what personal branding and branding meant. I did leave brick and mortar retail and went into casino gaming. And then during COVID, like everyone was furloughed. After I was furloughed, I went back to get my MBA at Pepperdine and just finished that in August. But during that time, I was sitting in my cohort classes with these younger women who were in their early to mid 20s, who were all really trying to figure out and asking me like where I came up with this confidence, how I showed up the way I did. And it dawned on me during my last semester of my MBA, it dawned on me that we have a generational issue of women who came into the working environment during COVID in their beds thinking the way of life in corporate America, right, or showing up was just on a Zoom call from the comforts of their own home. And not any fault of their own, right? Just a fault of the issues that the world was going through. I found that there was a distinct problem with the next generation of leaders coming up. And I think that's why a lot of people, jumped in on being the quick coach or the quick person to kind of help the younger generation out. But unless you've truly walked the walk and really understand what it takes to, just as you know, as an expert yourself, what building your personal brand and image looks like, it takes years to hone. And you can't do it overnight. It doesn't matter the classes, it doesn't matter how well or what we do, but it really takes a lot of time and effort in presenting our best selves to the world on every platform that we have, especially in today's day and age. That is how Collective Women's Leadership came about.
That's amazing. And how did you bring that to the public?
Collective Women's Leadership, I started posting kind of funny executive tips and tricks for women in the workplace on my personal Instagram account in September of 2024. In April, I decided to launch the Collective Women's Leadership Instagram.
Okay.
And had an event here in Vegas and asked women to come of all different industries and whether you were entrepreneurial, whether you were an executive. We have doctors, attorneys, pretty prominent women in the group locally. Launched that and then continued my Instagram reels every day. And we've just grown tremendously. We get a lot of requests for having other chapters because they see the natural, organic camaraderie. Nothing is prescriptive, right? It's not if you join the Coffee Connect and Collective Women's Leadership, there's a prescriptive kind of way to go about things. We do have programs and mentorship programs that if that speaks to you and you want to take your career to a different level, or you need to understand how to get through really tough situations in your corporate career or entrepreneurial path, we do have that. But the local piece is really for networking opportunities and bringing women together.
Yeah. And so you have is it the 3 pillars? Is it the mentorship?
Yep.
Is it?
So we have mentorship, we have the networking, we have educational series, and then now we have the app.
Tell me about this app.
The Collective Women's Leadership app. We have 5 modules on there. It's kind of mentorship in your pocket. From me, I'm teaching the 5 modules in terms of everything from getting through difficult conversations, how to appropriately advocate for yourself, how to create your personal brand, because that is encompassing in all of it. And a lot of women are hitting a plateau in their entrepreneurial career or their corporate career because they are not personally branded.
Wow. That is so true. That is what I'm finding in the entrepreneur world.
That's
it's
right.
Not even just, you say you have doctors and lawyers, but they are their brand still.
That's right. And I have a lot of, I work closely with a leading cosmetic dentist here, along with other professionals. And within their medical schools or law schools, they're not taught anything about the branding side of things. So it's really fascinating to learn.
So what do you break down? Let's just say someone comes to you, and I know everybody has a different story and a different journey and a different career, but is there a framework that you give to everybody that comes in and says, okay, we're going to start with, just for example, for building your personal brand?
Sure.
What are some things that you can, talk to the audience here and give them some tips on? Maybe these are the top 3 things we do with everybody.
Yeah, so it is very, very personalized because, as you stated, everyone's at a different spot in their challenges within their careers. But we do notice a lot of times they are asking, and I'm sure you get this question a lot, like, how do you present like this? You look the same. You always look put together on all of your platforms, right? And I'm sure you get that. But you and I have been doing this a long time in terms of the personal branding and how we show up. And so it's very consistent, right? And so a lot of times they don't even realize they have to do a lot of self-reflection. So I put them through kind of numerous exercises and conversations in terms of who do you want to be? Like, who is that? They have to do that work because I definitely don't know how they want to show up. So then we talk about the way you're showing up. Is that a direct reflection of your brand? Is it a direct reflection of where you want to go in your future career and endeavors? And typically it's not, because they just don't know how to show up first and foremost. They don't know how to curate their closet. They don't know how to have a capsule wardrobe. They don't know what fits well. They don't think they're a suit girl, but they like prints or all of these things, but then yet it doesn't fit in to where they essentially want to go. So we have to kind of reframe their thinking a little bit in terms of figuring out who they really are and how they have to show up.
So I'm curious because I do a numerous tests, but it's more on their personality DNA. So what I find really interesting is I do use a color personality test, a style personality test, and of course biometrics. I take a look at your body types, your vertical and horizontal. And these are just things I do for image, for outer appearance.
Sure.
But I bring who they are in the outer appearance on who they are in the inner onto their outer appearance. So how do you get them to really start discovering who they are?
Yeah.
Like, what are some of the questions that you are going to ask them to try to get them to start thinking about who they are and how they want to show up?
So there is a worksheet, if you will, and I ask them to give it to someone personally, someone professionally, and someone they're related to on their values and how they show up and how people see them. So through there, we look to see if there's a main kind of vein going in there, right? In terms of how they show up. And then we do a huge audit in terms of their goals first and foremost, and then everything leading up to those goals. So we would do with, if they were struggling with how to get to the next level because they don't feel as though they're being heard or seen, right? So how are they showing up to the office? How are they contributing when they're in a meeting? How are they known in the office or in their corporate arena or environment? And is it aligning with who they want to be seen as? Asking a lot of questions. Working with a few individuals who open their own companies and have really lucrative, great companies, right? But they have had 70% increases year over year because their business is doing so great. Yet they don't know how to take it to the next level because they're nervous of how they're going to be portrayed on social media. They're nervous in the way they look. They're not as confident in how they show up and how they're speaking. We have to do a huge audit of their social media platforms because they should all look very similar, as you know, and they should all feel very the same, especially through Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, if they're on TikTok, what have you. But those should all feel the same. Because when people are looking to do business with you, right, they like our reels. And then I find, and what we've tracked the data, and I'm sure you've tracked the data, they go to your link in bio and they go directly to LinkedIn to make sure you're actually a real person because of everything that goes on Instagram.
For sure. It's insane.
It's a lot.
Yeah. And I love that you teach them cohesiveness because really if you have the same picture on all platforms, you have the same message, the same logo, and your content is truly who you are in your message and to your audience, then that's truly going to it lands so much harder when someone comes to that page or Instagram or LinkedIn. Right. Yeah. And they're probably like, oh my God, like I didn't even think about that.
Of course. They have all of these aha moments. So first and foremost, I put them through the Collective Women's Leadership app and those 5 modules that are on there because that's where all the work is going to happen. And they get to sit and kind of do the homework themselves. And then we schedule our 6-week training. But they come to me with all of the work that they've put in. A lot of people, I think, and I'm sure you've felt this as well, people have to put the work in. We can't put the work in for you, right? You can hire us and you can collab with us and I can mentor you, but it equally takes a lot of work for you, right? Yes. To figure out who you truly want to be and how you want to show up to the world. And if you truly want to elevate yourself, what does that look like? The people that are most successful through my programs are the ones that truly go through the apps and the modules, schedule their time out with me effectively, and come ready to show up and they're prepared to speak about what they've realized about themselves.
Yeah, it's a lot of internal work.
It is.
Once you work through all of that, it's so empowering. Yeah. What has been some of the successes that you've had with your clients recently or just with the Collective Women's Leadership? I know I'm sure have had people go through this already.
Yeah, so it's beautiful to see that we have hit a nerve with women as young as 24, all the way up into their mid-60s.
Wow.
And everything in between. So some really great success stories. I had a client out of California who really thought she was finishing her master's program and she really thought she wanted to be an interior designer. So she had signed up for our program. And one of our other mentors has her NCIDQ. She's the youngest interior designer in Las Vegas with her license. And I partnered them up together and had a really raw conversation with the mentee. And because she was really, really excited to become an interior designer. But when the mentor really explained to her what it entailed, she immediately shied away from it. And she goes, "Thank you so much for this conversation. I think I'm going to go with my passion in real estate." And then I hooked her up with one of my other mentors, Stephanie, who's been in luxury real estate here in Vegas for over 20 years. And she really took her under her wing and mentored her through what it took to really get her first open house and how to speak to her broker, how to communicate upwards as a young real estate agent. And they meet, I think, once or twice a month. And then she was also part of my 6-week program. So she's just flourishing, and she's very young. She's in her mid-20s. And I'm so humbled that she always tells us if it wasn't for us, she wouldn't know where she would be right now.
I think that's so amazing that you offer a mentorship program, because I think that's lacking.
There is no mentorship. And I want to make it really clear, and this ruffles a lot of feathers. Mentorship is not coaching. We are not coaches. We are mentors grounded in experience. I want to say it again. We are mentors grounded in experience. We are not a fast coach that's going to say, okay, great. What are your top 3 initiatives that you want to attain in the next 90 days? Great. Here's how we're going to get you there. Here's the timeline, and here's the deadline, right? A coach brings a group of people together. We are not doing that. We are truly providing mentorship rooted in experience that is one-on-one, not prescriptive, and highly, highly customizable.
Oh my God. I've been doing this with other people and haven't really realized, because they're coming to me because I'm experienced. The script was flipped. I was always asking for, as I was going through my career, talking to the people that have been in the business for a long time and had the experience. It just started to shift like last year, and it's crazy. But yeah, I was like, oh my God, people are starting to ask me now.
Yeah.
Like, ooh, age is kicking in. Experience.
That's right. Experience.
But that is so great, because you're right. There is such a difference.
Yes, they are not the same.
Yeah.
And the more research I do and the more I tap into really setting our brand apart in collective women's leadership. Locally in Las Vegas, we bring women together because it's where I live, and we have about 100 members here. And then on our Instagram page, we have a lot of followers, but it's really based on them looking for a community and them really understanding. And you can tell, like, we don't edit ourselves. We're not filtered on Instagram. We're very raw, and we are truly giving value through what we've all been through, because I have about 6 or 7 mentors on my team.
Yeah.
Real estate, broker, entrepreneurs, cosmetic dentist, interior designer. We have like a sleep trainer, Chrissy Lawler, who's great, but she has a huge following. But all of us, regardless of our careers and our tenures, over like 120 years, by the way.
We're young.
We're young, yes. But we all bring something very different in terms of, but we've all gone through it. And that's where our content comes from. Our content comes from it being relatable to everyone, whether you're in your 20s and just starting out and as an emergent leader and trying to figure out who you are as a leader, or whether you've been doing it for many years and you're in your 60s and you're transferring and changing careers.
Well, this is something you know a little bit about.
Yes.
How long were you with Corporate America?
Corporate America, I was with Corporate America 28 years.
28 years. And what was the shift for you?
COVID, when I was, like everyone, furloughed, and I was really upset. I had never not worked 60 hours a week, right? I had never not been responsible for a very large sales number. I had never understood what it was to wake up without 50 emails in my inbox, right? So I was in very high intense sales, driving and help lead very, very large sales teams. And then COVID forced that all off, literally off. And I'd never had everything turned off before, where our laptops were like disabled, everything. Because at the time I'd worked for a publicly traded company. And when the furlough mandate happens, they're very strict on no working, no checking emails, don't contact clients, nothing like that. You're not working. And that was really hard for me. I was kicking and screaming and was on my Peloton far too much, but
And I purchased one.
That's right. So I had to figure something else out, and that's when I decided to go back to school to get my MBA. I did that because I felt as though I wasn't globally competitive, like some of my male counterparts, who I would often sit in rooms with, and they would be talking about where they went to grad school. And for me, just personally, I wanted to be globally competitive. A lot of people say you don't have to have a degree for things anymore, and you don't have to go to college. And I personally disagree with that, because it's a way, you talk about networking and meeting people you've never met before who have like-mindedness as you do, right? As a young 20-year-old, where else would you find that, right, as a young person? And then even me going back to school in my mid-40s, I found a huge other network. These women inspired me to develop and create collective women's leadership. These young girls that I was in school with told me to launch collective women's leadership because there was nothing like it and they needed it. So you talk about power in education. There is power in education. And now I'm just globally competitive with my MBA, which I think is fantastic.
I agree. I mean, it's just it's very personal,
That's
I think. And like you said, there's a lot of people that say education really doesn't matter and it's not going to take you forward. But I tend to disagree as well.
So do I.
So congratulations.
Yeah, thank you
That
very
was
much.
awesome.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah. So what would you say, like maybe your top 3 things or tips that you could give advice for someone that's moving from corporate to being an entrepreneur?
Oh, wow. Oh, my gosh. It's the hardest job you'll ever do, right? You're responsible solely for yourself. But what you put into it, you will get back out, right? I'm a workaholic by nature. So I love the grind and I love the hustle and I will, outwork most. By what people can see here in Vegas already. My company's only been around since April of 2024. So we're celebrating our year anniversary in April, and I'm super excited for that. But we've done a lot in a few short months, from the local chapter, the events that we host, the value that we bring to our following on social media platforms, and then the app.
And I think there's something that's really key that I'm learning from you today is you bring authenticity. And I know people hate that word. It's overplayed, but it's what I bring out of my clients. Like, who are you? Like, show up as who you are. You will get the business.
That's right.
You will attract the people. You'll attract your ideal clients.
That's right.
And I think that you've been so successful in one key element, like that I can just hear from you. I'm sure it's hard work, it's all the things, but being authentic and raw and real and vulnerable, any age wants that.
Yeah.
And especially today when everything is curated and everything is filtered and everything is watch what you say. You've got to be PC with certain things. And yes, times have changed. But I think what you're offering and what I'm hearing from you is that you're offering the years of experience, but no bullshit.
None.
And people are like, okay,
Yeah.
I like, this is gold.
Yeah. Yeah, authenticity is something I've always told I had, which I love. I don't sugarcoat anything for anyone. There are some people that don't like it, which is okay. But most people really like the authenticity piece. I call it as I see it. And if you're not doing the work, I'm going to say, you're not doing the work. Like, how can I help you? Or you don't really want to change. Or, but most people, I feel that's how we've become so successful in Las Vegas, is the women that attend the events, or women, and it's all been word of mouth. I don't know every member anymore. It was highly curated, and I probably knew every member when I was at 25 members or 30 members, but now it's all word of mouth. And now women bring their best friends who say, you have to be involved, and they get to know me, and they're like, I love this because you're just a real person. I'm not this farce on the internet that just had a great production team and a few videos that went viral, but we're really, really real people, and we're real women. And it's an organic connection. That's what I love the most about it. I am not one that's typically, saying, sign up for my program today and I'll show you how to make $1,000 this week, right? That is not what we do.
Thank you.
That is not what we do. It's so... that's just not who we are as a brand. We are a curated mentorship program for women in any age bracket who truly, truly want to take their lives to the next level, whether that's in entrepreneurial businesses, whether that's in coming out of a trade school, right? Whether that's coming out of your undergrad, whether that's coming out of graduate school, or whether you're transitioning careers, because the data shows that women in their 30s and 40s are going to have 4 to 5 distinct careers in very different arenas.
Well, I have to think about it, but I've had a lot.
Of course, right? So this is so entrepreneurship, so retail, and then, so I guess this is my third.
That's not bad.
Yeah.
actually.
Yeah.
But it's interesting because my mom is coming out of corporate. She is a doctor of nursing.
Okay.
But she's not only been a nurse for 40 plus years, but worked in Vegas here on the trauma, the helicopter, the ICU, every possible thing. Then she got her master's and her doctorate. And then she was in education. She worked at Toro and like yada, 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 right?
Sure.
But now she's like scratched all that. Now she's coming out as an entrepreneur, writing book, TEDx speaker.
Good for her.
But bringing modules into hospitals to save patients' lives.
Right.
So it's like, but she came in from corporate, like thinking stuff's going to happen like now.
Oh, yeah. No.
And it doesn't always work that way.
No.
So when, you talk about like this for you is probably you landed on something that's so needed. That's why I just from my experience or thinking of what I'm hearing from you is that the growth happened because there was such a fire.
That's right.
But typically building a business takes time.
Yeah.
And people coming from corporate, when you're getting paid a weekly salary, it's a little bit different. Like working for a luxury brand.
Yes.
What are some of the key things, 3 things that you learned from them that really helped you now with Collective Women's Leadership?
Consistency in their messaging.
Okay.
Right? Consistency in how they, even the way the employees are trained on how to speak the corporate language or speak the luxury language for the brand is something that happens behind the scenes. And then what I really learned is the power of merchandising. The power of merchandising is very important because we can definitely take that into our own lives in terms of merchandising kind of the way we show up or merchandising our closets. It's not organizing our closets, it's merchandising our closets to really make sure that they are representing who we want to be. So those are the 3 key things.
So you're basically telling a story.
Of course.
Whether it's in the stores.
That's right.
Or it's with you and your business.
That's right.
Yeah, that's powerful.
Yeah, but there's a common thread in all of the successful luxury brands that all do that from every single touch point that a customer has with the brand is all very similar.
I think there's also one thing people think, oh, I'm purchasing something that's a luxury item. But what goes into that is so much more, like you said, behind the scenes, the production.
That's right.
And there is such value.
What they all have in common is they really want the client's experience before the purchase to speak for itself. So the experience of the brand says something. And I was able to kind of take that into Collective Women's Leadership because the experience of how women feel, of the information they're getting, of the value they're getting, of the experience that they're getting, and the story they tell, which is why they tell their friends and they tell their friends to join a group of really powerful women, says something as well.
Well, you're providing a luxury service.
That's right. Yes.
It's very personalized. It's very customized. It's what I do with my business. That's what differentiates me from the person down the street because what I want to provide for you is the ultimate luxury experience.
Of course.
And I think that it's not just buying a luxury product. There's so much more.
Sure.
So,
yes.
Yeah, I really love that you provide that and you've had such experience so you know how to tailor it to each individual, like you said.
Yeah, all the time.
Yes. So what's next for you?
Oh, wow. What's next?
Are you just trying to wrap your head around?
Yeah, I'm trying. Yeah. So, we brought our Collective Women's Leadership app to market. It's been doing really great. But we have an exciting announcement. So the next kind of phase is that I'm partnering with corporations, and we're doing partnerships with corporations. So after COVID, the thought leadership and kind of mentorship departments or leadership departments had to go away. Right?
Wow.
And those are $1 million departments to build out. Once you have like an education expert, and then they need a staff, and then now you're scaling and building kind of a brand within your organization to help emergent leaders continue to flourish within your organization. So I'm taking collective women's leadership and partnering with corporates. We just signed a huge corporate contract with someone locally. The press release will be out on February 4th. So we are really excited about that. So I'm taking the mentorship within companies who've identified emergent leaders that they want to invest in to go through my course.
I love that.
Yes.
Are they going to go through the course, which is the app?
So the corporation purchases the app for each individual user that they want to invest in. And then locally, I go in for 6 weeks in a row, and they are put through kind of my mentorship program to help elevate their overall leadership and all of the things and components with that. It's highly customizable for corporations, but we're really excited that that's kind of the second phase of collective women's leadership is really the corporations.
Wow, congratulations.
Yeah,
That's really big news.
Yeah, thank you. Very excited.
I can't wait for February 4th.
That's right. We're excited.
So can you break down the app just a little bit more?
Sure.
I know you said you had 5
5 modules. Yeah. So it's the collective women's leadership method. So module 1 is all about who collective women's leadership is and really welcoming them, leadership and preparing for their leadership journey and talking about what the method is all about. The second module is the branding method. So we talk about defining your personal brand, crafting your personal brand statement, building your online presence, and then some exercises within that. The third module is the emergent leader method, where we walk you through building leadership foundations, leadership styles, leading through uncertainty and change, driving team performance and innovation, and managing conflict and tough conversations, and also navigating ethical dilemmas. So these are things that are valid in any job that you will ever have. So we are not focused on a specific industry because everything I'm mentioning here, we all have gone through, and we all need help because these things they don't teach in school. These things come with experience.
They teach with collective women's leadership.
That's exactly right. So method 4 is the executive style method. So assessing your workplace culture, investing in the essentials, building your wardrobe, all of those. Module 4 is the advocate method. So how to advocate for yourself, because that's really being talked about right now in terms of if you don't know how to articulate for yourself and advocate for yourself, you're going to be left behind. So really understanding what self-advocacy is and advocating for your team if you're in a leadership position. Negotiating skills for career advancement, negotiating some role plays are in there, and then how to build and leverage a support network, because that's also not talked about enough in terms of you won't rise to the top alone.
Amen.
Right? Takes a village for that.
Yes.
We talk about so this is just a sneak peek.
Awesome.
Coming in April, we have one about emotional intelligence. Coming in August is business planning, and coming in December is financial literacy.
Look at you. So well-rounded.
Yes, we're
You're right. This can go into corporate. This is going to be so valuable for them.
Yeah.
Because if their employees are feeling empowered.
That's right.
Knowing how to speak and advocate and know what their role is.
That's right.
And feel important.
Yeah.
So, well, this has been such a good chat.
Yeah, it's been great.
So where can people find you if they want to learn more about Collective Women's Leadership?
Sure. CollectiveWomensLeadership.com.
Okay.
Our Instagram handle is Collective Women's Leadership, and LinkedIn Collective Women's Leadership. It's all the same. So
I love it. Joyce Toti, thank you so much for being a guest on the show today. I've learned so much, and I'm so excited for your app and what's to come for you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. If you like this episode, please hit that like and subscribe button below. You can learn more fashion, style, personal branding tips right here. Thank you.